All right, I'm going to start recording here. Going to link it again in the chat. All right. Everyone excited to get that the perfect score on the test tomorrow? Let's see. All right. So boys and girls, here we go. Yeah, Noah's ready. Yeah, we know Noah's ready. We're gonna try to get everyone a perfect score. Keep in mind, the whole point of tonight, the whole point of this last week going towards this test was just to get 1 or 2 or 3 more questions right. That's really all we want, just to get our points up, our score up, just 50 points, 40 points. And really that'd be huge. Taking a look at the screen here, it says, welcome to the October 7th SAT review session. This is also super relevant to the PSAT. If anyone's taking the PSAT this next week, this is all of this stuff. All of these skills are super relevant to that as well. Some things that I just want to mention, kind of ground rules or whatever as we go. Yeah, this is meant to be engaging. This is not school. I'm not your teacher. You've probably heard me drop some F-bombs here and there and some, I'm your coach with this stuff, right? So as we go through this, please be kind of on the edge of your seat, working through some of these questions with me. And I'm going to ask that everyone, even if you're not entirely sure, throw your answers in the chat. In other words, if you have a question, or put A question mark or B, whatever, if you're really confident, exclamations, whatever. Or if you're not really sure, if you don't understand what I did, put a question mark. Yeah, and I said here, it says some of this will be review. And if you're really on your game, if we're pushing towards those kind of perfect scores, to be honest, it should all be review. Things that you've already seen. The whole point is to just remind you of this stuff and keep it on the tip of your tongue. From there, I also want to say this is 2 hours on your Friday night. You do not have to stay the whole time. If you ever feel burnt out, if you're kind of just fried at this point, you had a long day of school, you had an AP Calc test or whatever, feel free to leave. But the last 30 minutes is Q&A. So if you just want to make it to that point and then leave or whatever, just do your thing. I'm not offended at all. I know you guys have a lot on your plates. But yeah, if you do have any questions towards the end, really the last 30 minutes or so, please save all your big questions and all that stuff in there. Again, please be active in the chat. If I call on you, unmute or do your thing. And we'll kind of we'll try to make this as fun or less painful as we can. So let's get right into it. The rhythm of this is going to be basically, I'm going to show you a question. You're going to try it. I'm going to give you 30 to 45 seconds per question. And even if you're not sure of what to do, or even if you can't get the answer, some of us are going to get the answer in 10 seconds. Even if you don't know the answer or whatever, try to have a frame of what you would do. What kind of skill is this? What am I looking for? What can I do for pretty much every single one of these questions? Are we ready? Give me a big thumbs up. Give me something.
We're ready.
All right. Cool. Let's get right into it then. All right. Let's start with our first skill here. Our first skill of the night is factoring. Go ahead. Here's your first question. We're going to start off nice and easy. Number 16. Take a minute. Yep. And Logan, don't even direct message me. Throw it in the chat so we can all see how smart you are. There you go. Just 30 seconds or so here, guys. Come on. Good, Jake. 15 seconds left. Hey, Alex, thanks for joining. I just dropped the document that we're going to work on. So if you want to pull it into your iPad, feel free.
Thank you.
All right, boys and girls, let's take a look at this question together. The first thing that I see is, yes, it is a factoring question. Really, the idea behind this is, if you take a look, can I factor anything here? Is this a trinomial? Is this a difference of two squares or anything like that? Not really, but really, really important here. Anytime you can pull something out from both, really a GCF, anytime you can pull something out of both terms or really all three terms, you should always do that. So in this case, what is the greatest common factor? Just kind of letting the answer choices lead here. Just looking at the answer choices, what's the greatest common factor? Probably that chunk. And when you pull that out, when you pull this out from everything, pull it out. What's going to be left? I think it's C. It's C because, first of all, if I divided out 6x squared y squared from everything there, wow, the x squared, the y squared cancel. What's 12 divided by 6? 2. That's it. All right. Very, very good. That is good for 16. Let's come. Yep, exactly. Jake, let's come on over here for this one. Really nice and easy. We're just warming up here. Go ahead. 30 seconds. Come on. Ten seconds left. All right, so let's take a look at this question. Again, this is screaming factorable. Remember our saying, we always yell this at you. We say, when something is factorable, factor it. You should be on the tip of your toes looking for something to factor. This first question is no exception. Taking a look, this is a trinomial. What two numbers multiply to -24 that add to 10? So again, what two numbers multiply to -24 that add to 10, really sum and product, whatever you want to call it? It'd be z plus 12, z minus 2 equals 0. At which point, we understand that the answers would be -12, oopsies, -12 and 2. What is one of the solutions? You could probably submit either one, really, -12 or 2. Any questions on that one? Let's keep rocking. Does it matter which? To be honest, I don't think it matters which. I would just choose 2 because on the grid in section, it's just gonna be easier to bubble in a 2 real quick. But yeah, that is good there. That's 14. Let's keep rocking. Come over here for 18, a 4-piece chicken nugget. How do we factor a 4-piece chicken nugget? I'll give you guys right around 30 seconds here. Go quick. All right. We got some speed demons in here. 10 more seconds. All right, boys and girls, taking a look at this 4-piece chicken nugget, what do we do with something like this? Well, you always want to split it down the middle. Whenever you have a 4-piece chicken nugget, you always want to test splitting it down the middle. It's called factoring by grouping. Really, we have x squared, x minus 5, plus 2x minus 5. And wow, because those two groups are identical, we can slam that all together, making that x squared plus 2, x minus 5. Now, Noah, could you answer this question for me? Are we allowed to factor a sum of two squares? Would that ever factor? No, it wouldn't. Right. That would go imaginary. You cannot factor a sum of two squares. But the only real value would be right in here. The answer would be x equals 5. Good. And obviously, you're not going to submit x equals 5. You're just going to bubble in a big fat 5 on your grid in. Let's keep rocking. Come on down here. Again, if you have any questions or something, a burning question, feel free to shoot me in the chat or hold on to the question. Here's number 20 from a non-calc. Almost all of these will be non-calc, so you may have done this question before, but I love this one. Thirty seconds left here. Oh, Satan. Any other guesses? The SAT loves this skill. It's close of you. Yeah. Good. All right. Perfect, guys. Let's check this one out. I'm sure you guys are sick and tired of me yelling this skill at you, and I really want this to stick for tomorrow. What's x squared minus 9? X plus 3, x minus 3. What's x squared minus 16? X plus 4, x minus 4. I'll give you another one. What's x squared minus y squared? X plus y, x minus y. What skill is that? It's called a difference of squares. Earlier, you had a 4-piece chicken nugget, a factoring by grouping question. This is a difference of squares. Really, is this a perfect square? Is this a perfect square? Is there a difference symbol between them? Yeah. So this is factorable. Same thing here. What do we think, Annie, that u squared minus t squared is? Well, I think it's going to be u plus t, u minus t. That's a difference of squares with an extra u minus t outside. Now that's pretty cool, but what the heck? What is u plus t? Oh, u plus t was 5, u minus t was 2 and 2. And at this point, I have a lot of students that try to add this. What's the operation between all three of these? Multiplication. 2 times 5 times 2 is 20. You're going to bubble in 20. Any questions on that? Obviously, shoot me a question mark or private message, whatever, in the chat. But I have another beautiful question. The SAT loves this skill. I cannot tell you how much they love it. Let me give you 30 seconds on number 30. Go ahead. Love it, Logan. Good job. Love it. Ten seconds. Good job, Maya. So taking a look at this one, first of all, it looks like it's Chinese. I'm completely lost. But remember, the less you read, the better you do. I don't want you reading this at all. I really want you to just take a peek at the answer choices. What do the answer choices look like? What skill is this? It's factoring, right? At that point, let's take a look. Earlier I said, oh, what's x squared minus 9? X squared minus 9 is x plus 3, x minus 3. Well, that's because 9 is a pretty number. 9 is a beautiful number. It has a perfect square root. Whereas, what if I had something like this? X squared minus 5. X squared minus 5. Well, 5 is not as pretty of a number, but I'm not going to discriminate, right? That's x plus root 5, x minus root 5. Essentially, square rooting it just like I square rooted 9. So what am I doing with a? Is a pretty number? Not really, it's a letter. So if I have x squared minus a, what's that the same as? Well, that looks like a 9, but what's x squared minus a the same as? X plus root a, x minus root a. The SAT loves this skill. Cool. So let's keep rocking. Again, if you have questions, shoot me a message, but we're going to keep flying through this. Now we're coming down to parabolas, everyone's favorite. And ooh, we'll get here in a second. What skill is this? Without you guys even looking, trying. What skill is this? Yes. Yes, exactly. Guys, remember, hopefully you're well trained at this point, looking at just the answer choices. We're looking at the quadratic formula. We'll do that one in just a minute, just so it's a little bit scary and fresh for you. But take a look at number 8. This is another majorly important skill with parabolas. I know Logan loves parabolas. Let's see this one. Yeah, Andrew, you're quick. Logan, you're quick. Yeah. So look at this question. It's giving us that form, really, vertex form. So how does this work again? Well, first of all, it's definitely facing down, so it's got to be negative outside. Okay, so already B and D are trash. It's facing down, so it's negative, and talk to me. Isn't this shifted 6 to the right? Isn't it 4 up? So really I have y equals negative x minus 6 squared plus 4. Remember that in this case, even my smartest kids forget this sometimes. Remember, x minus 6 minus sounds like it's to the left, but actually in parentheses, it's always to the right. And that goes for circles as well. Just like if I had x plus 1 squared, what's x plus 1 squared? That's 1 to the left. And the last piece is, of course, up 4. Let's try one more. So yeah, the answer was C if I wasn't clear. Good job. Let's try this one, number 15. This one looks horrible, but it's not that bad. I'll give you a little bit of a helper just because it's not in front of you. Go ahead. Scroll. Can I scroll? Is that better, Jake? Yeah. I love it. Good job, Hannah. Yeah, you guys are ripping through this. That's awesome. So yeah, what is happening here? Is this not in that same form? Right? So first of all, guys, I want you guys to be wizards at this stuff. Do we read a single word here? Never read. Really, just looking at the answer choices, it's got to be negative. It's got to be facing down. It is shifted 55 to the right. 55 to the right, meaning, oh, minus 55 inside. I love that. And up 50, because again, we are shifted up 50. Brilliant. You guys are ripping this. Let's keep rocking. That's number 15. Let's come down here for this one. Everyone's favorite. I want to hear a big, loud sigh right now. Go ahead. Try this question right now. Some of us are in Algebra 2 learning this. Some of us are in AP Calc forgetting this. Let's see who can get this one. I love it. Beautiful. Good job, guys. If you're still working, finish up, of course. But this is screaming quadratic formula. Remember, even if you don't know that even if this wasn't screaming quadratic formula, what would you try to do? You would try to factor this. Is this factorable? Not factorable. What two numbers multiply to -1 that add to -3? Not going to fly. At that point, if something isn't factorable, you instantly go to quadratic formula. And let's take a look. I have x equals opposite b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. At which point we have opposite b, so it's 3 plus or minus square root 9 minus 4 times 1 times negative 1 all over 2. Now, again, even my smartest math people, my biggest stars, forget how this works inside here. Remember that this would be 9 minus minus. Again, because there's two minuses, of course that becomes positive. That's going to be 3 plus or minus root 13 all over 2. Now, that is answer choice D. Now, we got kind of lucky with this one because root 13, you cannot chop up root 13. But to be honest, most questions, maybe I should have posted another one on here, but most questions with quadratic will require that skill of chopping up, really simplifying radicals. Do you know how to simplify root 44? It would be 4 and 11 or 2 and 22, doesn't matter. Chop it up, chop it up. And at that point, a square root will look for sets of 2's. In other words, 2 rad 11. Remember, the 11 is stuck in the radical. Oh, no. Oh, no. Why did it pause? You really can't see, Jake? Are we back? Hmm. Oh, my gosh. Did I just, I think I just clicked off it. I hope not. Resume share. Let me see. Give me 1 second here. Sorry. Should come back any second. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Are we back? Perfect. Thank you, guys. Apologies for that. Let's keep rocking. Sorry, I was saying with simplifying radicals, again, in this question, we didn't have to do this, but a lot of us are forgetting or just not doing this skill. You must always simplify radicals. In other words, chop up 44. 44 would be 2 and 22. 22 is 2 and 11. And at that point, oh, this set of 2's, because it's a square root looks for sets of twins. A cube root would look for sets of triplets. And actually, maybe we'll do a question like that later on, kind of a tough one. At that point, this would be 2 rad 11. Again, 11 being stuck inside the radical. Anyways, let's keep rocking. Good job on quadratic formula. Be ready for quadratic formula. There's always one of those on the test, but you guys are really good at it. Let's keep rocking. Exponents. This is another fun one. Try this question. This question should take 10 seconds. Come on. Come on, everyone. I love it. Noah, you got this one, right? He didn't. I know he didn't. All right, guys. Really good. I love this. Everyone needs to remember this for tomorrow. Shows up all the time. Remember that this is called a to the 9/4. Really, we call this power over root. Again, power over root. What that means is, oh, this becomes a to the 9th, 4th rooted. Really, really good. We're going to use that skill for the next one. The next one's kind of hard. Actually, we'll do the easy one next. Very good, guys. Let's keep rocking. Try number 19. This is a weird one. Actually, from a digital SAT. If anyone's planning on taking the digital later on this year, go ahead. Wow, Hannah's on it tonight. Nice. Hannah wants to go to college. This is good. Cool. So guys, that looks pretty good. Really, for a question like this, we need to remember that there is no way to do this test without looking at the answer choices. You guys know that, of course, this is a to the 11th, 12th rooted. That's cute. Good job. But is that an answer choice? Does that show up in any of the answer choices? No. So at that point, let's play through the answer choices and see which ones make sense. Does A make sense? 12th root of 132? I mean, that's not what I got. B is kind of weird. C is kind of weird. But what about D? 11th root? Was this ever 11th rooted? No, D is trash as well. So now let's pick apart B and C. Well, it is 12th rooted, so that kind of gives me vibes of 144. But what I recognize here is that, oh, maybe they just multiplied this by 12. Maybe they just multiplied this by 12. Really, maybe this is really 132, 144ths. That does make sense. It's still power over root. It's B. Very, very good. Very, very good. We're all scared of the digital SAT going digital, but it's just not bad. It's not that bad. Let's try the next one then. The next one is difficult. This one is pretty difficult. I'll give you guys right around, I don't know, a minute for this one. This is a 3-block difficulty SAT question. Let's see if you can get it. Ten seconds left. Okay. So let me hop in on this one. Really good job, Aiden. Let me hop in on this one. This one is difficult, but let's talk for a second. The first time I tried doing this question, what I tried was I did 9 to the third, fourth rooted. That's cool, but really, do I know what 9 to the third is without a calculator? I think it's 729, but even then, do I know the fourth root of 729? Probably not. This question's difficult because we have to realize, really, using our knowledge of exponents, maybe they gave us 9 as a fishy number. Why did they give us such a fishy number? I call this the skill of disguise, if you've ever heard me say that before. Maybe 9 is really in disguise. Disguise as 3 to the second to the 3, really 3/4. I'll say that one more time. Maybe 9 is in disguise as 3 to the second to the 3/4. At least this is how I do this question. I'm sure there's other ways. At this point, guys, what do you do with power? Oopsies. What do you do with power of a power? Again, what do you do with power of a power? You multiply. So this would be 3 to the 3/2. Remember, 2 times 3/4 would be 3/2. And now I'm almost done. Aiden probably realized that, oh, this is power over roots, really 3 to the third square rooted. Really, that's square root of 3 times 3 times 3. And what did we say earlier? I think we have like 3 sets of twins in here. What does a square root look for? Square roots look for sets of twins, right? So in other words, a square root will take these two and they will escape, making it 3 rad 3. The answer is D. Really good. Very tricky. Again, maybe if we stay, if you want to stay till the end, maybe I'll find you a very, very good question similar to this one, really hard, from a recent SAT, the May. Let's keep rocking. That was exponents in that regard. I want to now switch gears a little bit and go to some graph questions and some interpretation questions. But actually, I have one more exponent rule question here, guys. Let's go. Right around 30 seconds, 45 seconds here. Give me something good here. Beautiful. For some of my workers who are really, really quick, might be a good idea to take the full time on your test tomorrow. Do not just walk out, put your pencil down, whatever. Take the entire time to do the test. And if that means going back to the beginning or doing the hard ones one more time, do it. We got to get that perfect score. I'm taking a look at this question now. First of all, I don't read a single word when I do these tests, and I urge you to do the same. Really, this is r to the 2/5 times r to the, what is that? 1 and 2? Oh, r to the 1/2. Okay. But Maya knows that when you're multiplying through exponents, you add. So I want to add these two exponents. Earlier we said power of a power multiplies, but here through multiplication, you add. Well, I want to add, but really, Logan knows that when you're adding fractions, you need common denominators. Really, what's the common denominator between 5 and 2? 10, right? So I'll multiply this one by 2, this one by 5, rewriting that I have r to the 4/10 times r to the 5/10. And what is that? So through multiplication, you add, it's going to be r to the 9/10. I'm getting D. Beautiful. Any questions on that? Questions on the message, please? But let's keep rocking for now. Next one, a little bit difficult, is number 7, but I think it's going to tie a lot together. Go ahead and try this one when you're ready. One minute here. This is a challenge. This is a 3-block difficulty. Thirty seconds left. On the actual test, you'd have more time on a hard question like this. All right. So I do want to hop in just to keep the pace going, but please watch along. The idea here is, oh, I have no idea what to do. I'm lost. But I do see through division. Earlier we said power of power you multiply. Multiplication you add. What do you think you do through division? Subtract. So I have x to the a squared minus b squared equals x to the 16. That's cool. But I already know that Alex knows what to do next. Earlier, I was screaming out x squared minus 9. I was screaming out x squared minus even 5. Remember, that was x plus root 5, x minus root 5. Earlier, we did u squared minus t squared. What do you guys think a squared minus b squared is? I think it's x to the a plus b, a minus b. Be on the tip of your toes for that skill tomorrow. From there, well, I still don't know really what to do, but it does say that a plus b is 2. Oh, okay. So what do you think a minus b has to be to give you 16? Again, if I get rid of all the x's at this point, if I have 2 times something equals 16, it's just probably 8a. Tell me what you think there. Give me a thumbs up if that made sense, or give me a thumbs down if I'm the worst teacher on earth. All right, guys. No, come on. No thumbs downs. Come on. All right, cool. All right. In that case, let's keep rocking. I want to keep flying through this. There's a lot to do. The next thing is interpretation questions. Again, my smartest kids messed this up. Let's talk. Here's number 17. And I'm just going to try this one with you, if that's okay. Obviously, if you want, just mute me and just try on your own. But it says, which of the following best model is this? Again, to be honest, I didn't even really need to read that. You can just tell what kind of question it is by looking at this. They're trying to discern between exponential and linear. Well, something that's linear has a rise and a run, a rise and a run, a rise and a run. Whereas something that is growing exponentially or compounding, if anyone wants to go into business or finance, yeah, those things compound on itself. They grow on itself. Oh, increases the value of the previous year. Increases, that's exponential growth. C. Good job, Nicole. Let's keep it up. That's 17. Come over here for these. We love these. I know Maya loves to read. She's really good at reading, but she's not going to read a single word here. Why? Just looking at the answer choices. What form is this in? It's in that beautiful exponential form. Remember, it goes F equals P1 plus or minus R to the T. Your final amount, your initial amount, your rate, and your time. So without reading a single word, it looks like yeah, I mean, my eyes are just catching on to this. And it does say 150 more than. 150 more than. In other words, I think I'm liking D here. Now, why? Well, remember, taking a look at this, yeah, taking a look at this, how much are we starting with? And then how much are we ending with? Actually, more than that, what about the rate here? It's 150 more than. Let's talk about that for a second. This shows up a lot. If I'm 100%, I'm 100% of myself. But then I go up 150. Right? What's up 150? It's 2.5, really 250. Exactly. So yeah, I'm actually choosing between B and D. Let me read this question one more time. I'm reading just the end here. Which of the following equations represents this model where n is the estimated after the end of 2015? Yeah, okay. I screwed up a little bit there. I think it's actually B here because they want the end of 2015. So I didn't even do any math there. It's just got to be less than 180. If it ends with 180 in 2016, it's going to be less than that. It's going to start, again, the initial amount is right there, 72. Yeah, so this one was a little bit tricky, but it's not too bad. Let's try one more. Let's try this one. Again, you see this question. You see this question tomorrow. Are you going to read this whole thing? Of course not. Looking at the answer choices, you're in that exponential growth or decay form. A and B aren't in that form, so those are not good. Choose between C and D. Annie sees something here. Annie sees, oh, it's a 1% increase. 1% increase. Remember, if I'm 100% of myself and I increase by 1%, that's 1.01. And Alex is right. It would be C. It would be 0.99 if I was losing 1%. If I decrease by 1%, it'd be 0.99. But in fact, it is increasing. It's D. Beautiful. It's okay. Yeah. Hey, I read too fast too on the previous one. It happens. Let's come down here on some of these. Which other ones do we want to do? Take a look at 15. Again, discerning between exponential and linear. Well, again, Jake doesn't read a single word. He sees that, oh, these are linear, y equals mx plus b, and these are exponential. So, of course, let's try to discern between the two. Remember, a linear has a perfect rise and a run, a rise and a run, a rise and a run. It has a very constant increase. So let's take a look. Looking at the y values, what are they increasing by? Anyone good with fractions here? What are they increasing by? Is that up 14? Up 14? Up 14? Up 14? I think so. Really, you're adding 14/4 each time. At that point, if I'm adding the same thing every time, it ain't A or B. I'm looking at D. And why D? Well, what's 14/4 give you vibes of? Gives me vibes of 7/2. Any questions on that? Beautiful. Now, the next question here, take a look at number 14 on the right-hand side. You see this question tomorrow, you're having a straight panic attack. You have no idea what to do. Has anyone ever dealt with graphing like something like this from on the non-calc section? You don't have a graphing calculator. You can't graph that. But I have taught you guys a trick, a way to get out of any, I repeat, any graph. Plug in, exactly. Just plug values in. Check this out. If I have the function y equals -2.5 to the x plus 4, this works for any graph. What are the two juicy values that we always test? Plug in 0 and plug in 1. Always. This always works. Let's work through this. When I plug in 0, I have the coordinate 0, comma. Remind me, what's anything to the 0 power? Anything to the 0 power is 1. Very, very good, guys. Thank you. It is 1. Do not forget that. Anything to the 0 power is 1. At which point, that's just 1. So -2 plus 4, I'm getting 2. Stop. Which ones go through 0, 2? I'm liking B and C. But I'm not done. I got to find one more. I got to plug in one more coordinate. Sophia likes the value of 1. Let's plug in 1. Now we're coming back to our function. If I can erase that. Oops. Now let's plug in 1. We have -2.5 to the 1 plus 4. Okay, this is a little awkward for me, but let's do it. What's 0.5 to the 1? 0.5. A half times -2. Half times -2 is -1. -1 plus 4, I'm getting 3. Oh, cool. Which one of these graphs are going through 1, 3? At least choosing between B and C. Boom. Obviously, this is going to be easier for you when you have the test in front of you. But yes, B is actually not right. The answer is C. And I'm a math teacher. I've been doing this for 10 years now. Perfect scores on every SAT because first of all, I don't know how to graph these. I have no idea what even function this is, but I just plug in points. We just got to finesse it. Any questions on this one? Let's keep rocking. That, my friends, is done with exponents. Let's come down here for some interpretation questions, still on that vibe of exponents. Take around 30 seconds here. Again, my smartest kids mess this up. Go ahead. Oh, and for our friends that just joined the Zoom, let me share the document with you. If you're looking at the chat, take a look, print that out, or just follow along on your iPad, whatever you'd like. All right, guys, start throwing me some answers. I know there's a lot of text here. So smart. Good job. Hannah, you're on fire. Remember, we're not going to read any of that really. I just see that number 1.11. I love it. I cannot tell you how many of my students choose B here. A lot of us probably were maybe leaning or looking at B. What's the problem with B? B is you go up 1.11 each day. In other words, that would be very linear. You run 1, you rise 1.11. Run 1, rise 1.11. Rise, you get the idea. That is not correct. The idea is D. You are growing by a factor of each day, compound interest. You're growing and compounding on yourself. Very, very good on 15. Any questions, obviously, shoot me a message, but let's keep rocking. Come on down here for this one, 29. Please take right around a minute on this one. I'm putting a timer for a minute. Let's go. Don't get caught here, guys. They're catching you. Okay, good. Andrew and Noah just saved the day at the end there. Guys, this is such a classic idea, and I want to talk about it for a second. The idea, first of all, is we're not going to read any of that, to be honest. I see what is the interpretation of 1.1, 1.88. Well, that's the slope. That's the average increase of something, right? But remember, as if this is some height with 1.88 L plus 32.01, remember, every time the length, L for length probably, every time the length goes by up by one, again, every time the length grows up by one, really, every time you run one, you rise 1.88. Now, actually, Maya saw a question the other day. If the height grew by one, the length of the femur must have grown by the reciprocal 1 over 1.88. That shows up too. But for this question, if the length of the femur grows up by 1, then the height of the man's height would go up by 1.88. The answer is actually D. And this comes to something that I want to kind of mention or just give you a hint about for tomorrow's test. For tomorrow's test, I want you to have, I hate to say it, but common sense. In other words, a lot of us said C here, which is okay. But how could a man's leg grow by 1.88, but then his height only grow by 1? I thought to myself, I'm like, does that make sense? Answer me in the comments if that makes sense. How could my leg grow by 1.88, but my height would only grow by 1? Right? It's strange. Any questions on that one? Cool. Let's keep rocking. Come over here for number 19. Please take a stab at this one. 30 seconds. It sounds weird. This is again from a digital SAT, but very relevant. Anyone else? Sydney, what are we thinking? Annie, what are we thinking? Kind of weird here. Yeah, I like it. Guys, let's talk about this one. Yeah, this one's so weird. Let's talk about this one. First of all, just by looking at this question, what form are we in again? Our good old friend vertex form. Really, we're being shifted 7 to the right, but up 3. And it does say what? This function models the height based on time. Again, this function models the height based on time. So if I were you, I'd realize that, oh, the x is probably the time. Time is always the x, whereas the height is given by the y. In that case, look, is this an upside down problem or just a normal good old parabola? Really, just a normal good old parabola. At that point, remember with vertex form, how does this work? This is the x component, this is the y component, this is the component 7, 3. In other words, at the time of 7 seconds, you were at a height of 3. The answer is actually A. The answer actually is A. Again, why? Because some of us were saying the height was 7, or D, B and D. Why B or D? Because remember, the height was 7. I thought the time was 7. So B and D aren't great. Whereas A makes sense. You are at a height of 3, and that is the lowest you ever go. That is a minimum. If you're in calculus, you know about mins and maxes, or if you're in pre-calc with extrema, it's definitely A. Any questions here, guys? Weird one, really weird. Let's keep rocking. I want to stick on this idea now. Here's a really nice, easy question for lines, just to kind of warm this back up. You have the next 30 seconds for this question. Go ahead. Yeah, really good. Really good. Even if you didn't get it that fast, I hope you noticed something in the answer choices. You notice that the answer choices are not in y equals mx plus b. They're not. So what I would ask you to do is first find the equation of the line. Always find the equation of the line. The equation of this line is y equals negative x minus 4. Really, it has a negative slope of 1, and its y-intercept is negative 4. At that point, they have the x and y on the same side, so moving that x to the other side, I have x plus y equals negative 4. The answer is indeed C. Great job, guys. Now, the next question is on this right-hand side, number 18, if you can take a look. I've been talking about this type of graph a lot with all of you, reminding you that, yeah, you don't want to look at that point. You don't want to look at that point. You don't want to look at that point. What are the points that you really want? I know Andrew knows this. What are the points you really, really want? Yeah, so smart. You always want the y-intercept or the x-intercept. Why? I love this word for this topic because that's the coordinate 60, 0. That's the coordinate 0, 40. In other words, at those x and y intercepts, you zero out the other term. So without doing much math here, remember, company A does mention is x. So if you could buy 60 of them, I think this must be B. Why? Because 8 times 60 equals 480. None of the other ones do that. None of the other ones do that. Really, if I plugged in 60 here for x and 0 for y, really just plugging in a coordinate don't work. Cool. So I have another one of those if you wouldn't mind trying. Try this question. This is from another non-calculator section. Go ahead and look. Is Alex going to use that point or that point? I don't think so. Go ahead. Are you guys sure it's B? Nice. No, I see some answers D. D would be goats. D would be looking at goats. It looks like a lot of us are putting D. That would be the coordinate 0, 60. Right? So I don't think I like that one. Look at horses. I'm looking at horses. It says, how many acres of land does each horse need? Oh, well, if I zero out the other one, that's a coordinate 5, 0. Some of us put B, and that's okay. But yes, you're right. You can sustain 5 horses. But how much acreage does each horse require if you can have 5? 2. Beautiful. Beautiful. Any questions on that, please yell at me. Feel free to unmute and ask, or just message me. But let's keep rocking then. I got some of you with that one, right? Be careful. And before I move off of that question, one thing I want to mention is on tomorrow's test, the SAT always does this. They always mess with the scale and the axes. Please watch out on tomorrow's test. Notice you're going up 10, up 10, up 10, over 1, over 1, over 1. It's not worth messing something up like that just for something stupid. So watch out for the scale and the axes, please. Let's come down here. Any last line questions? Last few line questions here. This is a 3-block difficulty. This is a hard one. Now, without really reading a single word, you guys probably already kind of have an idea of what's happening here. They're asking you to put this equation into this table, or this table into this equation, vice versa. Taking a look at this, maybe I don't know how to do this one. Maybe Annie doesn't know how to do this one. Maybe Ava doesn't know how to do this one. But if I had to choose one, if I had to do something here, what could I always do? I could recognize that that's an X and a Y. I could recognize that, oh, that's a coordinate, really, A, 0. In that case, can't I plug those in, plug that in for X, plug that in for Y? In that one, or that one, or that one? You could. And at that point, you realize, oh, that's A plus 2 times 0 equals A. What? A equals 0. A equals A. Done. It's A. So remember, my highest scorers on these tests, they're not just good at the math. You can be good at math all day, but you won't get a good score. My really good kids are good at math, and they have that kind of finesse, right? You got to be able to finesse some of these questions. Cool. So on tomorrow's test, promise me that you're going to remember that, oh, if I have a coordinate, can't I just test it? You can always do that. Awesome. Let's keep rocking. I'm going to skip some of these just because I don't want to waste too much time here, but this is so easy. I've probably made you guys repeat this over and over. How do you find an x-intercept? Again, how do you find an x-intercept? You set the y to 0. How do you find a y-intercept? You set the x to 0. Okay, so if they want the x-intercept, this one goes bye-bye. 4/5 x equals 1. How do we get that 4/5 to the other side? How do we divide by a fraction? Multiply by the reciprocal. The answer is x equals 5/4. Beautiful. Any questions? Let's try another one. Almost everyone misses this question. All of your friends that are not working on this on their Friday night and they're out doing whatever and having fun, doing TikTok dances, whatever you guys do these days, you're going to get this wrong. They're going to get this wrong. Why? Because they're asking for the y-intercept. How do you find a y-intercept? You set the x to 0. Okay, x to 0. Oh, it's C. Sweet. D? What? Wait, you guys, why are you saying D? Oh, it's because anything to the 0 power is 1. 3/4 to the 0 is 1. 1 plus 5 is 6. It's D. How many of your friends are going to miss that one? Let's try another one. Come over here for this one. This is from a very recent SAT. We find a y-intercept. Set the x to 0, so this is just a big fat 0. We have y equals 16 plus 3. 16 plus 3 is D, 19. Beautiful. Having these skills razor sharp allows you to kind of bank some time in for those harder questions. Give me a thumbs up if I can keep going. I'm getting some thumbs downs. That's not good. All right, thank you. Let's keep rocking. Come on down here for this one. This skill has been killing all of us. Everyone's missing this idea. First of all, this is the equation of a line. It's y equals mx plus b, and you're trying to form it from a table. Now, what do I always say? I've yelled this at you too many times. When in doubt on a line question, find the whole y equals mx plus b. Well, wait a second, how do we do that? Well, m, the slope, is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, really average rate of change is slope. Thus, oh, I'm rising 0.5, I'm running 3. Again, I rose 0.5 and I ran 3. I'm going to double both of those. Really, that's 1 over 6. Oh, cool. It's probably C or D. Now, that's the easy part, but now differentiating between C and D is where everyone is struggling. Everyone. Remember, now that we have the M, plug it in. We have y equals 1/6 x plus b. Now, Andrew's in trouble. Andrew has 3 variables. You can never solve one equation with 3 variables, and a lot of you guys are stuck at this point, and that's okay. But look, what do you have in here? What is that? That's a coordinate. That's an x and a y. Plug that in. Plug that in. So now I have 1 equals 2/6, really I'll just say 1/3 plus b. Most of you can do this in your head at this point. What plus 1/3 gives you 1? It's 2/3. It's D. Cool. Any questions on that? Again, finding the equation of a line is a really important skill. If you want, come back and try this question again later just to kind of confirm that you can do that. For now, let's keep rocking. We might as well do this one real quick. Perpendicular. Remember, and you might want to write this down, parallel lines have same slopes, whereas perpendicular has opposite and reciprocal slopes. Okay? So taking a look at this question, they're basically trying to find which of these might be perpendicular to this original. Well, Maya's going to instantly put this into y equals mx plus b form. Essentially, moving this 2x to the other side, it'll be 3y equals 2x. Dividing both sides by 3, you have y equals 2 over 3x. Oh, wow. So if the slope of this line is 2/3, I repeat, if the slope of this line is 2/3, what's going to be perpendicular to that? What's perpendicular to 2/3? Alex knows that's -3/2. Brilliant. At that point, take a look through the answer choices. First of all, anything with probably 4 is not going to fly. Maybe it's D, maybe it's A. What I would do is, again, move that to the other side, divide by 2, and it's A. That's the only one that has that slope. Beautiful. All right, that's 11. I know I'm going a little bit fast, but it's just because I have a ton of stuff to get through. Let's keep going. That's number 11. Let's come down here for this. This next skill is so important. Shows up all over the test. This next one says, you have this system of equations, or these 2 lines. What value of P would make this have no solution? Quickly. No solution. When do lines not have solutions? When they're parallel. Very good. Exactly, guys. That takes 10 seconds. Great job. It's D. Again, why? Because if these 2 lines are parallel and they have different y-intercepts, they'll never touch. Really good. Let's come over here for this one. Try 13. I'll try it with you. It says, which one of these has exactly 1 solution? Well, let's go through the answer choices. Please watch. For D, if I subtract out a y from both sides, Annie, when does 5 equal 5? Always. Oh, that's infinitely many solutions. That's literally if 2 lines are literally on top of each other, really, they always hit. For C, I would subtract out y's. When does 0 equal 5? Never. That would be no solution. That would be parallel again. Same thing for b. Subtract out the y's. 0 equals -5. No, it doesn't. That's never. I love it. Good job, guys. It is indeed a. Why is it a? Because when you add that y to the other side, you have 2y equals 5. Oh, y equals 2.5. That's the only like chill answer so far. It's the only one that really makes any sense at all. That is a solution. Brilliant. Let's keep flying. That was 13. Cool. So now I'm going to move into circles. Some of this might be review. Some of this might be kind of difficult. Let's take a look at this first question from circles. Actually, this one's easier. Take a look at 11. A lot of us are forgetting this skill. Noah, are you forgetting this one? Let's see it. 10 seconds. Good. Now, for those of us that haven't seen geometry, don't remember it all as much, this is the equation of a circle. And it's kind of in that form, right? We have x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Write that one down. Really, if the center is 5, 7, remember that would be x minus 5 squared plus y minus 7 squared equals 4. That's it. Really good. If that didn't make a ton of sense, or at least if you're remembering the formula now, go ahead and try the next question. Try this one. 10 seconds here again. A little slippery, be careful. Okay, I got a few of us with this one. Be careful. Okay, no, my heart skipped a beat there. Guys, remember that this equation is set to r squared. R squared. So if this is 16, what is r? 4. The radius of this circle is 4. If the radius of the circle is 4, what's the diameter? Double. Double. I'm liking B a lot. Very, very good. Let's keep rocking. Come on down here. Anything else here for circles? Yeah, there's this really, really famous skill. Some of us are really good with this. Some of us need a little reminder. When I see a question like this, I instantly think of that same formula, really. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. This skill is tested every single SAT. What would I do for a question like this? Well, I would do x squared minus 6x plus blank plus y squared minus 8y plus blank equals 0. At which point, I'm going to add a value of b over 2 squared. B over 2 squared. This is called completing the square. I'm sure everyone here has heard that at some point in their lives. Completing the square, really, in this case, 6 over 2 squared is adding 9. Over here, 8 over 2 squared. 8 over 2 is, what is that? 4 squared is 16. And if I always make this stupid joke, but it helps me remember it. If I just added 25 to the white people, what must I do to the black people? I must do the same thing. It's only fair. Whatever you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other, unless you're a racist, which is not good. So here, the answer here is really equal to 25. Remember that if you're equal to 25, remember that's r squared. The answer is D. Good job on that, Maya. That was really quick. If that looked like Chinese, let's try one more of those. Try this one if you wouldn't mind. Try 29. Very similar, right? It should feel like a similar idea. How are we doing on time? Okay, let's try this question together, guys. If you're still working, please finish. But just for the sake of time, I'm going to keep pushing on. You can feel free to watch along or finish up. Really, I have x squared plus 20x plus blank plus y squared plus 16y plus blank equals negative 20. At which point, you add a value of b over 2 squared. Really, 20 over 2 squared is 100. And 16 over 2 squared would be 64. If I just added 164 to the left side, I must add 164 to the right side. And what's the whole point of me doing this? I don't just sit here on my Friday nights completing the square for fun. I mean, some of you might think I do that, but I don't. From here, factoring that, that's going to be x plus 10 squared. Again, factoring trinomials, plus y plus 8 squared equals 144. At which point I understand that the center of that circle is negative 10, negative 8, and the radius is 12. Wow, it's B. Really, really good. Take a picture of that if that didn't make any sense, and we can try to work that out in a little bit. But for now, I'm going to keep zipping. All right, I do have some more good circle questions, and I know you guys hate these arc, weird, triangle, circle questions. So let's just take a look at this one really, really quick. For a question like this, you need to remember that, yes, that is a radius. That's a radius. These are all radii. But what's a really good radius to draw? That one. Why? Because that makes this triangle what type of triangle? An isosceles. Really, if that's 20, then what's this angle? And if that's 20, then this is 40. Actually, yeah, you don't even really need to do that. There's a few different ways to do this question. But if those are both 20 in a triangle, what does that add up to? What is it? It has to add up to 180, I think. Therefore, this is 140. This guy is 140. Together, that makes 280. And if those together are 280, what's this skinny guy over here? Andrew's got it. It's 80. Happy to do that again. Just message me. All right, let's keep going, guys. If you have any of these questions, if I went too fast on any of these, just mention it later on in the Q&A. Let's take a look at this one. Boy, oh boy. I see a right triangle. It's right triangle. And I see a lot of root twos. Root twos, root twos. What do I instantly think about if I see root twos in a triangle question? Yeah, Noah's got it. Really, scroll up to the top of your SAT, and your SAT should give you these two beautiful formulas, the two special right triangles. If the hypotenuse has a length of 4 inches, what is the perimeter of this triangle? Well, this question is actually kind of tough, to be honest. If this is 4, remember, it goes x, x, x root 2. X, x, x root 2. In which case, if the hypotenuse is already 4, then what must this side have been? What must this side have been? Again, this question is kind of tough, but it would actually be 2 root 2. 2 root 2. Why? Well, remember that for the hypotenuse side, you have to tack on a root 2. Again, you have to tack on a root 2. So how did they get 4 there? It was probably 2 root 2 tacked on with an extra root 2. Probably could have done a better job explaining that, but what's the perimeter here? It'd be this, this, and this. I'm getting C as well. This is honestly a tough one, but it teaches you the idea. If this side here is 7, that would be 7, and that would be 7 root 2. 45, 45, 90. If you're not sure about that one, please mark it down and we'll come back. But let's take a look at the next one. The next one says what? I see a triangle question, and what does it have on it? A 30. When do we, oh my God, and I see root 3s in the answer choices? Boy, oh boy. I think I'm in store for a 30, 60, 90 question. So what does that mean? Well, if this side is 12, and this side is 60, that tells me that this is 30. How does this work again? Taking a look right here, it goes x, x root 3, 2x. So this side opposite of the 30 would be 6. This would be 6 root 3. And I guess we're done. The answer is indeed 6. This side would also be 6. Beautiful. Really, this side is 6 and the other side is 6. They're both 6. Great. That's 30, 60, 90. For those of us that want a little bit of, not even a challenge question, it's not even that bad, but just want an extra practice with root 3, try that question later on. But for now, let's try this one, number 12, trigonometry. Not the most common skill in the SAT, but it does show up pretty much every test. This skill is important though. This skill is saying cosine of angle E. And you're probably scratching your head at this point. You're probably like, well, what the heck? They didn't tell us anything about this angle, or they didn't tell us anything about this triangle at all. But what's beautiful about similar triangles, if you've heard me say little baby, big mama before, what's beautiful about similar triangles is that the cosine of this angle is the same as cosine of this angle. Oh, because the angles are the same. Similar triangles have same angles. So what's my answer? What's cosine? Cosine is really ca, adjacent over hypotenuse, adjacent over hypotenuse to B. Sorry, to angle E, or angle B. Very good. That's number 12. If I'm going too fast, please feel free to message me and I'll slow down. But there's a really, really beautiful skill here. A lot of us know this. Actually, we'll do that one later. A lot of us know this skill like the back of our hand. This is a number 20, the hardest question on a non-calc, but it's not hard for us. What is this skill screaming out to me? Well, remember that if I have a triangle, and we can call this JKL, we can say that this is angle K, this is angle J, it tells us that that's the right angle, and this is angle L. It says that cosine of K is 24 over 51. In that case, what is cosine of L? Again, what is cosine of L? Well, cosine of L would be, using Pythagorean theorem, I think we would want to find this side and this side, really adjacent and hypotenuse. Again, adjacent and hypotenuse from angle L then. So I think I'm going to do Pythagorean theorem. I think this actually might be on the calc then. Let me see. Actually, wait a second. 51 divided by 3. Oh, wow. I'm really dumb. This is probably simplifiable if it's on the non-calc. In other words, dividing this out by 3 from both, this would be 8 and 17. Wow, that makes that so much prettier. I'll rewrite that. This is 8 and 17. At which point, if you want adjacent and hypotenuse here, how do you find adjacent and hypotenuse? How do you find the third side of a right triangle? Pythagorean theorem. Really, a squared plus 8 squared equals 17 squared. And working that through, you can multiply 17 by 17, but I think the answer here is 15. That's a Pythagorean triple. Again, you would do Pythagorean theorem there. From there, what's the final answer? Cosine of L would be 15 over 17. Kind of a hard one there with a lot of trig, but hopefully you're remembering what cosine is. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, sine is opposite over hypotenuse, tangent is opposite over adjacent. But yeah, Logan's next question is our favorite skill of all. It's this one, number 17 on a non-calc. I've yelled this at you guys before. Sine of x is equal to cosine of y. In other words, the sine of one angle is always equal to the cosine of the other angle. I'll say that one more time. The formula for that, it's actually a pre-calc skill, but it's really easy to understand. The sine x equals cosine of 90 minus x. Again, the sine of one angle is always equal to the cosine of the other angle. So what's the cosine of the other angle here? 0.6. Done. Beautiful. Any questions on that? All right, I have another one of those here if you want to try that later on. But just so we can get to some more stuff here, let's take a look at some systems stuff. One skill that I'd love to teach is this one for systems of equations. I know Ava loves to do elimination. I know Sophia loves to do substitution. But when you're asked not X or Y, there's a nice little trick you can do here. Yeah, Andrew already saw it. All you have to do here is just add straight down. I call it a puzzle. When you're not asked for X, when you're not asked for Y, it's a puzzle. Beautiful, Justin. You just add straight down and you get what they want. It's 2,500. Beautiful. I have a lot of students that solve for X there and then solve for Y and then plug it in, but it takes forever. And it's easy to mess up. Can we try one more of those? Hannah, let me see you try this one for me. Try 24. You don't always just add straight down like the previous one. Sometimes you got to subtract. Sometimes you got to kind of play with it a little bit. Puzzle it. Find the puzzle here, 24. Beautiful. So for this one, did I add straight down? No, I think I subtract straight down. So strange. So here I have 3x, -5 minus -8 is plus 3y, 4 minus 9 is -5. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. So that's the idea of puzzle. Justin still remembers that. That's good. Come over here for this one. I'm actually not going to do this question. This is just a normal system of equations question. To be honest, it's a little bit tricky, it's a little bit challenging. So it might not be bad to come back here and practice this later, maybe during the Q&A or just on your own later tonight before you go to sleep or tomorrow morning. But yeah, this is a really, really commonly tested skill. Let's keep rocking. Come down here and I have the next section labeled watch out, alert, alert. Why? Because I have really down here a lot of different skills that I need you guys to watch out for coming towards you tomorrow. Some weird ones. Now, taking a look at a question like this, why do you think they've given you both answers? Really, when you do the algebra here, you actually do find that x equals 1 and x equals 9. But why, Sydney, why do you think they gave you one or the other answer? Why do you think they gave you one or the other? It's actually because there's an extraneous solution. Maybe, exactly, it's only one answer. Maybe only one of them work. Very good. So the fastest way to do this question is just to plug in. When I plug in 1, I get root of 4 equals -2. And actually, a square root of a number won't equal its negative counterpart. It's actually not A. It's actually just B. If I plug in 9, watch what happens. I have root 36 equals 9 minus 3. That does work. It's B. So my point with that question is when they give you answer choices and they say one or the other, it's usually because only one of them work. I've probably yelled that at you already. Let's keep rocking. Come on down here for some more. So earlier we were talking about no solution or infinitely many solutions. I have a ton of questions on that topic here for you, but let's start off with an easy one here. How many solutions does this one have? None. None. It doesn't have any solutions because they're parallel. Again, they're parallel, but they do have different y-intercepts. Will they ever touch? No. Very good. Now, while you're trying that question, please go to number 10. How many solutions is that one going to have? Beautiful. Beautiful. Good. So for this one, I would distribute, of course, distribute. You have 4x minus 8 equals negative 2x minus 8. At which point, I don't even care about the 8s or whatever. Just by looking at them, don't they have different slopes? So yeah, remember that two lines that have different slopes, how many times will they hit? Just once. I love it. Let's just do one last question on that topic. Maybe a little bit of a challenging one. Let's try this one. This one's a little bit more challenging. I think this is 2-block difficulty, maybe 3. So if you want, mute me and you can just try on your own. But if you want to just watch along, how would I do this question? Well, remember that for infinitely many or no solutions, you always want to just line up these x's on both sides. If this is 4 on the left side, then a is probably 4. From there, if a is really 4, we have 4x plus 4b equals 4x plus 10. At which point, subtracting 4x from both sides, 4b equals 10. And for that to really be infinitely many solutions, for these two lines to be exactly the same line, really, we need to end with 10 equals 10. That's kind of the whole point of this. You need the left side to be the same as the right side because, Annie, we asked you earlier, when does 10 equal 10? You said always. Yeah, always. That's infinitely many. So what's the final answer here? B is 2.5 or 5 halves. Beautiful. I know this is reviewed for some of us, but if nothing else, it kind of keeps it on the tip of your tongue. Let's keep rocking. Coming down here, I was yelled at by some of my students because last time I didn't really go over box and whisker plot. It doesn't show up all the time, but it can. Let's talk about it. Looking at a box and whisker plot here, what the heck is that thing? Well, remember that this is the minimum value. This is the maximum value. Really the lowest and the highest values. Whereas this one is quartile 1, that's quartile 2, and that's quartile 3. Quartile, meaning the top 25%, or sorry, like the lowest 25%, then the middle, really the 50%, then the 75th percentile. But what's another name for Q2? Notice I said the 50%. Oh, isn't that the median? Sydney knows that. Sydney knows that, oh, this bar in the middle is the median. And when they talk about the mean, does a box and whisker plot, did I ever mention mean or average? One is trash. It ain't one. So yeah, median of dataset X is less than dataset Y. Look, the median here is lower than the median there. It's B. Cool. No, you cannot determine the mean from these. That's the whole point of this question. You have no idea what the mean is. Therefore, that mean answer is absolute garbage. Good question. Great. Let's keep rocking. Yes, just median and range and interquartile range, but that's not really tested. Range and median. Very good. Let's come over here for this one. A big skill. I thought this was a genius question to put on here. Why? Because I've actually seen it tested more than once. What is density? Density is mass over volume. They actually just expect you to know that, just straight up. Density is equal to mass over volume. Thus, how do we get the, I guess, the M alone? They want the M in terms of D and V. Yeah, I would just get out of the V and tack it onto the other side through multiplication. I like A. I know you guys can solve that, but did we remember that density is equal to mass over volume? Some of my physicists, my chemists might, but that's a good little reminder there. They expect you to know that on other questions on top of this. Very, very good. Let's keep rocking. Coming down here, I want to talk about standard deviation for a few minutes, and then we'll finish up with some stuff. And then I promise I'm gonna take some questions in like 5 minutes. The last thing here is a standard deviation question. Remember, what is standard deviation? Standard deviation is the deviation from the standard. The deviation from the standard. So think about a data set that's very, very tight knit like this versus a data set that's more spread out like this. This might be the height, the heights, how tall your kids are at your school, maybe at Olympic heights. I don't know why I use that example, Olympic heights for heights, but maybe this is the NBA. Really, the heights in the NBA are so tight knit around 6 or 7 feet. Which one has a bigger deviation from the standard? Olympic heights or the NBA? Olympic heights has a much bigger deviation from the standard. In other words, from the mean, from the standard, you're deviating really, really far. Whereas the NBA, you're not deviating almost at all. Very, very small standard deviation. So help me out with this question, Brian. Taking a look at this data set here, it looks like, of course, you could do the math here, but the mean is really in between both of these. The means are probably the same. But which one's deviating more? Which one is more tight-knit versus more loosey-goosey? Alex loves this idea. Yeah, I would argue that from the mean, I have to stretch my arms further. And actually, in this case, they don't even care which one's bigger or smaller. The deviations are just different. They are differently spread out. Very good. You have another standard deviation question on the left side here if you'd like to try later on. But let's come down here. The looser the fit, the bigger the pants. Cool. So take a look at this question 30 with me, please. Again, without reading a single word, all I see is I see this piece right here. I'll talk about that in just a minute, Andrew. All I see is this: f of x equals k, y equals a number. Guys, remind me, first of all, what does x equals 7 mean? Oh, that's a vertical line at 7. Therefore, what do you think y equals a number like 5 means? Oh, that's a horizontal line. Again, y equals is a horizontal line, x equals is a vertical line. So please follow me. Ready? It says when does this have 3 solutions? Well, let's see. Does it have 3 solutions when y is 2? Answer choice A. No, it only hits once. What about when it's 0? How many times does it hit? Once. How many times does it hit when y is -2? I'm just going through the answer choices. Once. And what about D? -3. Ooh, D is the only time that they actually hit 3 times. Very good. And the reason I put this question on here is because, first of all, it's definitely a weird one, but did you remember that y equals, or really just f of x equals k? Did you know that that's just a horizontal line? Now you do. Very good. All right. Let's finish up here. I have just a few last questions. I have these questions down here. These are both from brand new SATs from this year. I'm not going to make you do both of them, but without reading a single word, hopefully I've trained you well enough. Just looking at the answer choices, what do they want on the left-hand side? Answer me in the chat. What do they want here? Beautiful. They want the W alone. Look at number 6 on the right-hand side. This is the May 2023 exam. What do they want here? Get the R alone. Exactly. Try those during the Q&A time if you guys would like. They're not super hard. It's just kind of the inverse PEMDAS idea. You're just trying to get a variable alone. Let's keep rocking. Coming down here, really the last few topics that I want to talk about is this one. Sydney's actually really good at this skill. Reminding you that if something has a high margin of error, it's probably because they didn't do it that much. Whereas if you have a low margin of error, it's probably because you did it a lot. Let me make that make more sense. Imagine a mom and pop pizza shop. When they make pizzas, they probably make 100 a day. They probably have a high margin of error because they really only make 100 pizzas. Whereas, Justin, how many pizzas is Domino's making? Probably making 1 million pizzas globally. Is their margin very, very big? Can each pizza be very different? No, their pizzas are all very, very identical. Their margin of error is very, very small. Thus, what can we assume here? Because the margin of error here is larger, I can almost guarantee you, oopsies, not that one. I almost screwed that up. It's going to be D. Because they have a larger margin of error, because they're screwing up more, it's probably because they haven't done it that much. All right, guys, I'm almost ready to take some questions, but I have just one or two last ideas. One of them is coming from pre-calculus, really converting out of radians, converting into radians. I'll hold off on that though, because some of us aren't in pre-calc yet. So if you want to stick around, please do. The last skill here that I want to talk about, and this has been showing up every test this year. Last question of the day. This skill has been showing up every single test, and everyone messes us up every single time. What's happening here? Well, they're converting from square miles to square yards. So really, that's two dimensions. But they've given you a conversion that's in one dimension. What the heck? Well, yeah, that's going to be very, very weird. 99% of your friends are just going to take 4.36 and multiply by 1760 and get the wrong answer. All of your friends are just going to do that. I'm just doing that in my head. It's probably B. What are you going to do? Because you are converting through square yards. Again, because you're converting in two dimensions. Shouldn't we have to apply that conversion twice? Because remember, 1 mile is equal to 1760 there, and 1 mile is equal to 1760 there. Because we're in two dimensions, because we're doing square yards, shouldn't we apply that conversion twice? We should. I would do 4.36 times 1760 times 1760, which, to be honest, I haven't done this question before, but pretty dang sure Logan's on the money. I'm getting D. That is such a slippery question that they get everyone with all the time. If that made any sense, please put a thumbs up or just say good job in the chat. Just say something in the chat just so I know. If you want me to repeat that, I will. Cool. Cool. All right. So I'm about to take some questions here, and I'm happy to kind of fill out any of the questions that I skipped if you ask me to. But just before I do, this question has been showing up, and I didn't come up with a question, but tell me why these surveys are biased. I saw a question on an SAT, and they said they were surveying people at a playground whether or not having kids is important. Can someone in the chat tell me why that's strange? Why that study is biased? Yeah, they have kids. Why would you be surveying people? Thank you. Should have kids. Logan, I like that. Yeah, some weird, creepy guy at the... Yeah, it is weird. Yeah, hopefully they have kids. One last one. Ava, why is this one... Is this a valid study or not? Surveying people at a gym, whether staying in shape is important. Is that normal? Does that make sense? Yeah, there's bias. Why would you ask people that are at the gym whether staying in shape is good or not? They're at the gym, right? Okay, at that point, that is all, my friends. That is it for my little study guide. Hopefully most of that was review, if not all of it. If I zip through anything that you still don't really understand and you want me to go back towards, this is the time. If you have no questions, if you don't want to stick around and listen to any questions, please feel free to leave. Not hurting my feelings at all. It's your Friday night. You get to enjoy or rest a little bit. But if you have any questions, please stick around. And in fact, I'm going to kind of start with 22. I've already been asked to do 22. Gotcha. Andrew, I'll do that in just a second. Okay, so I've already been requested to do number 22. It says the measure of angle R is 2/3, 2 pi over 3 radians. The measure of angle T is 5 pi over 12 radians greater. What is the measure of angle T in degrees? Well, keep in mind, this is calculator section. It's past number 20. So feel free to use your calculator here. This is a pre-calc skill, but super easy if you want to stick around for this. How do we get out of radians, guys? What is 1 pi radian equal to? 180 degrees. So what I would do here is I would just convert this to degrees. So 2 pi over 3 if you know your unit circle. Or I would just do 2 over 3 times 180. That's going to be 60. What is that? Sorry, 120. Okay, so, but then it says angle T is 5 pi over 12 greater than that. So I'm going to add 5 pi over 12 greater than that, but really 5 over 12, again, times 180. How do we convert it into degrees? We multiply by 180. So it's 5 divided 12 times 180. I'm getting 75. So really 120 plus 75. Our final answer here is C. All right. So that is good there for a good degrees or radians question. I know Ava is good at that one. I know Sophia is good at that one. Let's keep, why are we multiplying by 180? Yeah, that's what 1 pi radian is. Logan, in school, if that made no sense to you guys, in school, a lot of you guys are taught this. You multiply by 180 over pi. A lot of you are taught to do 180 over pi so that the pi's cancel. But I just multiply by 180, it's just easier, kind of ignoring the pi. All right, so I have some more questions here. So one of the questions that I was asked was, if I have 4x plus y equals 7 and 2x minus 7y equals 1. Yeah, this is just a system of equations question. What I would do is I'd probably multiply this by -2 to do elimination, at which point I have 4x plus y equals 7, negative 4x plus 14y equals, what is that, -2? At which point, why did I do that, guys? I did that to cancel these out. I have 15y equals 5, y equals 1/3. Oh, I was asked to find x. Oopsies. Well, at that point, I would just plug 1/3 back in for y. Really, 4x plus 1/3 equals, what is 7? 7 is really, wow, I can't think, is 21/3. Subtracting 1/3 from both sides, I have 20/3. So if I have 4x equals 20/3, Andrew, I'm going to divide both sides by 4, really multiply both sides by 1/4. And I have x equals 5/3. Tell me if that made, yep, just a dumb mistake, no problem. That's good there. I had another question in the chat that said, why does the square root of a number not equal its negative counterpart? Well, that's a really good question. Now, to answer your question, if I have x squared equals 9, if I'm actively square rooting, it is x equals plus or minus 3. You're not wrong. But if the question already has the square root built in, let's just say x equals, I don't know, 3. Or like, let's just say square root of x equals, or square root of 4 equals -2. If the square root's already built in, Logan, you actually don't include the plus or minus. And I don't know if that's a great explanation, but the better explanation was, don't ever let a radical equal a negative. That's all I would say. Yep. Alex, I see you asking for number 29. I appreciate the question, but tell me where that was, if you wouldn't mind. Is it this one? Which section are we looking at? Yeah, let me know. Twenty nine. Circles, okay, no problem. All right, so here's another circle question for all my circle lovers. I think I skipped this question. Is it not that one? Which one? Alex, is it 29? Or 21 or 24? Maybe one of these? Huh, 29. Oh, this one. Sure, let's do this one. This is a really, really important question here. So what was the idea behind this one? Again, it's in that weird form, Alex. You want to put it in that nice circle form. We have x squared plus 20x plus blank plus y squared plus 16y plus blank equals negative 20. Remember that for this skill, you're going to add a value of b over 2 squared. Again, b over 2 squared. So in this case, I skipped around a little bit too fast last time. 20 over 2 squared, 10 squared is 100. 16 over 2 squared, 16 over 2 is 8. 8 squared is 64. And if I added 164 to this side, I add 164 to that side. At this point, Alex, remember that the whole point of this is to factor this, create a perfect square. That's going to be x plus 10 squared plus y plus 8 squared equals. And I don't even care about the rest because the answer is truly B. And again, I went a little bit too quick there, but the whole point is that's factorable. That's a perfect square. Can't I simplify? Can't I simplify? I don't really know what that means. Unmute yourself and ask. I'm not really sure what that means. Simplify.
So I just divided 2 out of everything and I got the same answer. And I just put it into the circle, like the form.
I get it. You're doing one of your little wizardry techniques again, which like gets the answer, but it won't always work. Yeah, I can't guarantee that it would always work. And if you were asked for the radius, that would definitely not work. Yeah, doing it the real like technical way I know sucks, but it is really the real way.
Okay, thank you.
I like your intuition always, but yeah, it doesn't always work. I was also asked, guys, please throw your questions in the chat. If you want me to do a specific question, please do. Okay, so I was asked to do exponents, number 7 from the exponents. Where was that? Exponents. Yeah, this one. Is it this one? Probably. Yep. So let's do this. When can we go over the solve for variable? Yep. So this question, first of all, what do we know about exponents? Really, through division, you subtract. So that's really x to the a squared minus b squared equals x to the 16th. Okay, well, at this point, we know how this works. What is that called again? That's a beautiful case of factoring. That's x to the a plus b, a minus b equals x to the 16th. At which point, if I have that, first of all, can't the x's just kind of fall away? X to the this equals x to the that, just getting rid of both of those x's. At which point, if a plus b was 2, again, 2 times a minus b equals 16, what must a minus b be? 8. 2 times 8 gets you 16. Tell me if that makes sense. Perfect. I was asked by Sydney, the lovely Sydney, to go over this one. It says the equation x squared minus 2x minus 1 has the answers x equals n plus root k and x equals n minus root k. And if I were you guys, if you're still around, if you're not sick of my stupid voice yet, I would listen to this one. I wanted to mention this earlier, but I didn't. Really, taking a look at a question like this, what skill is this asking? What skill is this? You have answer choices, or not even answer choices, but in the question, they have this weird format. And you know, Cindy, that is this factorable? Are there 2 numbers that multiply to -1 that add to -2? No. So if something is not factorable, what do we instantly kind of switch gears towards? Quadratic formula. And that's why this looks like that. Right? So you have x equals opposite b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times 1 times -1 all over 2. So doing quadratic formula, we have 2 plus or minus root 8 all over 2. And I'm glad that you asked this question, Cindy, because I didn't include one similar to this. Maybe I should have. What was I saying earlier that the SAT almost always requires you to do? What do you always have to do with root 8 or root anything? Simplify it. Really, chop up root 8. What is root 8? That's 4 and 2. 2 and 2. Really, 2 plus or minus 2 rad 2 all over 2. Remember, that 2 is stuck in the prison. From here, your last step is pulling out a 2, a 2, a 2. I have 1 plus or minus rad 2, and the answer is n plus k, which is 3. So guys, the answer here is 3 for this question because they asked me to add n plus k. So tell me if that made sense. And Sophia asked us a really good question. Why did I put 4 in the B spot? In the B spot. Well, remember that the quadratic formula is x equals opposite b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And remember, b squared, what's negative 2 squared? Anything squared will go positive. So if you let me know if that made sense. Awesome. Guys, if you have any other questions, please go ahead and ask. If not, I was asked to solve through these last 2 solving questions, which I did not do. And to be honest, these are both really, really good. So if you'd like, please watch along. Taking a look at 19, without reading a single word, Justin knows that you want the W alone. Please follow along. It says, for a question like this, we're trying to get the W alone. So what am I going to do? We'll strip off each layer. How do I get rid of this 2 times? Divide both sides by 2. Really, if I divide both sides by 2, I mean, I could have even made this easier. Look, what's 14 divided by 7? 2x over y equals 2 root W plus 19. At this point, Logan, wouldn't we pull this 2 out from both? At which point, how do we get rid of a square root? Square both sides. So we have x squared over y squared equals W plus 19. And then I do want to check the answer choices just to make sure that I'm getting close. And I think I am, because if I were to pull my work down a little bit, make it bigger for you, am I getting close to the answer? Yeah. I think it's C. Why? Just really quickly moving that 19 to the other side, it would go negative at C. So let's also try the one on the right. Logan, let me know if that made sense. Cool. Take a look at the one on the right then. Again, without looking at a single thing, what do we know about these? What are we trying to do? We're trying to get the R alone. So if we want to get the R alone, let's do it. First, I might just divide out an S from both sides. I have Q over S equals R minus 1 squared. Now, Hannah knows that how do you get rid of a square? You square root both sides. And then you add 1 to get rid of this minus 1. Those weren't that bad. These are from very, very recent SATs this year, and neither of them that bad. Boys and girls, any last questions for me? Andrew, feel free to ask me that question one more time. You can unmute and ask. I'm not really sure what you mean. Can you review when it asks for 2, yeah, I'm not sure.
It's like when you get the 2 solutions from the quadratic formula and then it asks to add the 2 solutions.
Yeah, that's such a good question. I don't have one of those on here, but I have a billion, literally a billion of them to practice with. Take a look. Also, what is I squared, Andrew? If that shows up tomorrow.
-1.
Yes, very good. Okay. Actually, this is even better. Watch this. This is the March 11th SAT from earlier this year, March 11th. Guys, if you need to run, feel free to go. Just going to run through the last few questions for anyone that still has them. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for working at this stuff. I really hope all of your effort pays off tomorrow. Just make sure that you just try your best, and good luck to anyone that has to go. Taking a look at number 20, Andrew, I think this is what you were talking about. This is a brand new test from this year. It's asking for us to find the sum of the solutions of a weird quadratic. So I think our friend Alex got this question right earlier, but I would just start by doing quadratic formula. I have x equals opposite b, so 2 plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, so 6. Just normal quadratic formula. Again, recognizing minus is going to go positive. So if I remember correctly, this is 2 plus or minus root 88 all over 6. From there, I would probably simplify root 88. What is root 88? Root 88 is 3 out of 4. That's 22. That's 2 and 2. So really I have 2 plus or minus 2, rad 22 all over 6. Andrew, at that point, 2. This is really 1 plus or minus root 22 all over 3. And at that point, Aiden, of course, my pleasure. Good luck tomorrow. At that point, Andrew, remember that the sum of the two solutions would be 1 plus root 22 all over 3 and 1 minus root 22 all over 3. What's the sum of those two solutions? Well, the radicals would just cancel. What's 1/3 plus 1/3? 2/3.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't know if you kept the denominator or not, but you do.
You do. When you're adding fractions, you keep the denominator. What's 1/5 plus 1/5?
Yeah, 2/5.
2/5, exactly. Good job. Any last questions, guys? I'll stop the recording there. Any last questions? Happen to stay a little long, answer any questions that you guys have.